We've all been there when you feel like you're in an impasse with your kid, whether they're just not listening to you because they're unfocused or maybe they're cranky all the time. A lot of parents come into me and I say, "Well, have they always been difficult?" And they'd say, "They came out like that." And, you know, it's hard for our kids too, and they don't know what to do, but there are techniques to help make it better. So let's talk about why parent-child communication breaks down. This is the first in a three-part series. This is going to be about why it happens. Then we're going to dive into the next two episodes about what you can do about it, because there are a lot of things that we can do about it. And there are a lot of reasons why our kids can't hear us, why we get stuck. Yeah, sometimes we get stuck, right? So, number one, we're not actively listening. Now, when we have sensitives, right? Well, I've both of my kids are sensitive in completely different ways. One is more reactive and the other is more inquisitive about it. And the inquisitive part is just a lot easier to do, right? As a parent to discuss. But sometimes we lose our ability to have patience. And sometimes we're just not good at active listening, right? So that's a major reason. We're going to get into how to do active listening, but this is all about why, right? Criticism and negativity. Now, you've heard me talk about negative parenting. Go back and listen to that series. I feel like it's some of my most important work that I do is talking to parents about breaking the negativity cycle that they inherited from their own parents. But many of our kids, especially if you have ADHD, 70% of them have rejection, sensitivity, dysphoria, really believe you're criticizing, even when you're not, right? But this is just one of the reasons why it breaks down, right? It doesn't matter if you really are being critical and negative, your child feels that way, right? Or there are things we can do. Two, a little lack of empathy, right? Not really understanding and putting yourself in your child's shoe. Surprisingly, I often see this from the parent that had the same issue growing up. And often they'll say, "Well, I turned out fine." And I always spend a lot of time educating, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what I got away with in the 80s is like literally not possible today." Right? It just wouldn't be. And so we're putting those same expectations and completely different rules and parameters and stuff our kids got to do. And we need to be more empathetic to what our child's difficulties are. Empathy is not a hallway pass. Empathy is understanding. And I think it's something we're struggling with as a society. I feel like we're so judgmental, right? We have different communication styles, right? I mean, I see that all the time. Two of my best friends are introverts, and they just take in and communicate very differently. It's not bad, but we as parents have to meet kids where they are at. They can't meet us where we are at until they have a lot more skills, right? So different communication styles is a major, major reason why I think conflict happens, right? You're actually having a lot of disagreements and conflict. It's a big reason why communication is as an impasse. I recently had a conflict with somebody and was quick to apologize, like immediately. As soon as I said it, I saw they were upset, immediately apologized. It didn't matter if I was right or wrong. They felt upset. And boy, did they have a complete inability to have any empathy, any understanding, and was actually quite visually angry and spewed out a lot of stuff that kind of freaked me out. Disagreements and conflicts happen, and we certainly need to stop that and look at why it's happening. Okay, busy and stressful lives. So we have a lot on our plate. I think about all my parents that have 3 or 4 kids, special needs kids. You can have one that can be hard, but I think, wow, I talk about that mom that I work with has 5 autistics. So I think, wow, that's a busy and stressful life. And it's not an excuse, it's an understanding, right? Technology and social media. I think that we are becoming so connected to our devices and less communicative to people. Um, we don't pick up the phone. We have text message exchanges, and that doesn't foster great communication when you're at an impasse, right? Um, you have to be very careful what you put down in a thread because it can be read, it can be misinterpreted, right? Um, I think communication can break down as your child goes through their developmental stages, right? When kids are looking for more autonomy, you know, or they're experiencing hormone changes. True, even your most pleasant child can be challenging. Can I say that? We talk a lot about these kinds of things in our Facebook group. You can go to drroseann.com/group to get support. But there are a lot of reasons why communication breaks down. And that's the first part. You got to put your parent detective hat on. You got to look at what's going on here. You can't just blame your child. Just like I got to disagree with my friend and I realized right away that they were upset and very reactive, and I apologized, right? Because they're hurt, right? They have to do that, and sometimes we have to do that. And I know we want our kids, like, I mean, I've had parents say to me, like, I can't believe that they didn't apologize or they didn't do that, or I don't understand. There's a lot. It's not as easy as that, right? So we have to look at some of these reasons as to why. And I know from personally that having a reactive kid is hard, but let's put that detective hat on, look back, and this is step one in helping to break down and improve some of these communication issues that we have with our kids, because we need to have safe spaces for them to share with you. And that's the only way we're going to really move the dial. And we can do that. So the next part is talking about how do we improve communication?